Okay, it's story time. Let's talk about Egypt. Yes, that Egypt. Since I was a very young child, seeing stories about Egypt on the History Channel, they actually played something useful on the History Channel way back then, I got obsessed with Egypt. Now, the time came when I was in Israel, and I figured I'm right next door, I have to go to Egypt while I get the chance, right? So I booked a hostel for $5 a night. I can't remember exactly how cheap the plane was, but it was very inexpensive. And then I took off and I went to Egypt. When I landed in Cairo, I spoke to someone who picked me up to bring me to the hostel. I told them while we were in the cab, please don't tell anybody that I'm Jewish. Obviously, I figured he assumed that I was Jewish since I was landing from Tel Aviv to Cairo. He had to know the plane that I was on in order to know where to pick me up and when to pick me up. Anyways, we get to the hostel and he starts talking to his friends in Arabic. Obviously, he told them I was Jewish. I could hear him. So I looked at him and I said, I thought I told you not to tell anybody that I'm Jewish. And he looked at me and he said, I thought you told me you didn't speak any Arabic. Now, after I had landed and had settled in, someone welcomed me and talked to me about what I was planning on doing while I was in Egypt. So they basically upsold me and had me buy a tour that sent me down south to Aswan and Luxor. I hadn't originally planned to do that. I had originally planned just to stay in Cairo, but when I talked to them, it really made a lot of sense. Plus, again, it wasn't that expensive, so I figured, why not? I go on the bus down to Aswan, I believe is the further south one, and I get there about an hour and a half late. Luckily, the person was still waiting for me on the other end because I was taking a public bus to meet somebody on the other end. And I got off the bus and realized I had taken the wrong bus south. So there's that. And I did have a good time while I was down there. One tour guide asked me if I was staying with her for the afternoon during the morning tour, and I said, yeah, of course I am. I didn't know. They really didn't give me that much information when they sold me the tour. They just told me things piece by piece and gave me tickets to trains and buses. So I went to the tour with the same woman as I had in the morning for a tour, and I got back to the hotel and the maitre d' at the hotel said, where were you? Someone was looking for you. You missed your tour. I still don't know what I was supposed to see on that tour, but they never charged me for the tour that I wasn't supposed to be on, so I guess it's all good. Anyways, I had to take the train back up to Cairo after I was done seeing Aswan and Luxor. So here I am on the train platform, waiting for the train, and one of the police officers comes up to me and asks to see my ticket. Of course, I wanted to be amicable, so I give him the ticket. He looks at it, and he said, you're not supposed to be on this train. And then I didn't know what to say, so I just paused and looked at him waiting for more information, and then he said, well, since you already have the ticket, you can use it. So I use the ticket, and I get back up to Cairo. When I get to Cairo, there's no one waiting there for me. There was supposed to be someone to pick me up to bring me back to the original hostel where I had bought the tour in the first place. This was before GPS, so I was lucky that I had actually paid attention to things when we had driven from the airport to the hostel, and I had used statues as landmarks, so I was able to find my way back to the hostel, luckily. I think I did walk around in circles kind of a little bit for a while. The other thing about being in Cairo was that these guys who worked at the hostel told me how to say go away in Arabic. I figured that was something useful to know. However, they had this whole thing about me practicing and they were giggling when I would say it, so I didn't even know if what I was saying really was the word for go away. By the way, it was imshi, which means literally to walk, but it's Egyptian slang for go away. Like if you don't want someone near you, you say imshi, imshi, walk, walk. So the whole time I was in Egypt, I didn't want to use the word because I was afraid I wasn't saying what I thought I was saying. So I was stuck not being able to tell anybody to go away. And it might be for the best because actually in Arabic countries, they tend to be very upset when you don't use your manners. So to say imshi is actually very rude and probably not something I should have said, and maybe that's why the guys were laughing. I showed them a video of an alphabet in Arabic that I liked because I liked the sound of the video. However, there was one part where they mentioned someone named Arafat Adina, and the guys in the hostel got all giddy and said, "Oh, that's our leader," and I'm like, really? Which was kind of insane because Arafat Adina is a known terrorist. So I didn't know what to do. I was just sitting there and they got really excited. They turned the channel on the TV in the sitting room of the hostel to this interview of a young boy who was talking about what it was like to have had his mother be a suicide bomber. And then they look at me and they ask me what my opinion was after the video had been broadcast. And I'm just like, that's interesting. Because I was too afraid to say anything negative about it after what was going on. And I guess that's what you get for booking a hostel at $5 a night.